Hi, Verbling. My name is Michaela. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona. And today we're talking about sports and gender. I have an interesting article, some conversation topics, and maybe a listening activity if we have time. If anybody wants to friend me on Facebook, I'll put my Facebook name in the chat box for you. And I offer tutoring sessions. I have pretty widely available hours. You can check them on my profile on Verbling. So as I wait for students, I will put the notes in the chat box for you guys, starting with that one there. We have some vocabulary and questions to talk about. Of course, the first question is about sports. Name as many sports as you can think of. So brainstorm a little. There we go. So we're going to start with these conversation questions, talk about this vocabulary, and then move on to our article. Welcome to class. How do I pronounce your name? I think I've had you in class before.
My name is Sasha.
Sasha? All right. Have I met you before, Sasha, or is this your first time in my
Dasha.
class? Oh,
Dasha.
Okay. Sorry about that. Your name is Dasha.
No,
Okay.
this is my first time to your class.
Excellent. Well,
Dasha,
it's
yes.
wonderful to
Dasha.
meet you. Great to meet you.
Yeah, it's okay.
If you have any questions about Verbling or about this class, feel free to let me know here or on Facebook. And I put my Facebook name in the chat box for you.
Okay.
Okay. And the notes are there as well. I put the notes in the chat box, which you can open now. Or you can look at my screen share. Aka, welcome to class.
Yes, hello, how are you?
Good. How are you, Aka?
Yes, I'm fine, thank you.
Having a nice weekend so far?
Yeah, so nice weekend. Yeah. I went to the beach for walking.
For walking?
For walking, yes, because it's too cold to swim. Still.
Ah.
Yeah, yeah. It's a rainy season here, so it's not so hot now.
All right. Well, it sounds nice.
Thank you.
Okay. So I put the notes in the chat box for you guys, and you also can screen share with me, of course. Let's get started talking about sports and gender. First, we're going to name as many sports as we can think of. So, Igor, would you like to start us off and name some sports?
Of course, I would start with football or soccer, how you say it in US. So
That's a good start. Very strong and popular sport.
So yeah, and the World Cup is almost started in Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So, should we name one by one? Should we name one by one or how?
Yeah, sure. We'll go one by one. So, Dasha, will you give us the next one?
Yeah, okay. Golf.
Good one. Golf is a good one. Aka,
Okay.
your turn.
Golf.
Yeah, baseball is very popular here.
All right. Back to you, Igor.
Volleyball.
Ooh, I love volleyball. Dasha?
Tennis.
Aka?
Is good one.
Swimming.
Igor?
Ice hockey.
Dasha?
Chess. Is it sport?
Yeah, that counts. It counts as a sport, I think, anyways. Aka?
American football.
Yeah. Igor, go ahead.
Martial arts.
Nice one. Dasha?
Can you say please what is martial arts? What is that?
Good question.
It's
Do you know how to describe martial arts?
Okay, it's different types of usually men's fighting with each other.
Okay. It's kind of fighting, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So now I'm thinking about box then.
Boxing. That's another good one. Aka, will you give us another?
Beach volleyball.
Volleyball. Okay. Igor?
Floorball.
Huh?
Floorball.
Floorball.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that. What is that?
Actually, it's the same like hockey, ice hockey, but on the floor with a ball.
Oh. I see. Okay. Dasha?
Yeah. Okay. Ice skating.
Ice skating. Good one.
Aka?
Figure skating.
Okay. Igor?
Jogging.
Dasha?
Curling. Curling.
Curling. That's
curling. Yeah, curling.
Aka?
It's very funny.
Walking.
Walking. That could be a sport, maybe.
Nowadays, walking is recommended to the athletic exercise.
Definitely, it is. It is a great exercise. Igor?
Ping pong.
Ping pong. All right. And our last one, Dasha, will you give us one more?
Parachuting.
Parachuting. Wow, you guys are getting creative. Okay, so I made a list there, and I put all of those sports in the chat box for you. Oh, let me put them in the Google chat box as well. There you go. Okay, so think about some of those sports as we answer the next couple questions. How important is gender in sport, and why is it important? We'll start with Aka.
Mhm.
Do you think gender is very important or not that important, and why?
It's up to the kind of the sport actually. Maybe actually, but nowadays such kind of gender barrier is changing actually. In the past, women's soccer is not so usual, but now it's usual. And and yeah, and maybe figure skating. Maybe usually the women's figure skater is more popular than men's figure skater. Still some gender, how can I say, differences exist, but I think it's gradually decreasing, I believe.
All right, good answer. Igor, what are your thoughts on the importance of gender?
Oh, yeah. For example, in martial arts, gender is important, but actually there are some women boxing as well, but I do not like to see women smashing their faces and so on, because women should be beautiful with no any scars and so on.
Okay, so it makes a difference on the impact of the sport.
Am I sounding discriminating?
Well, that's up for discussion today. We're going to discuss a little bit about what people consider discrimination and not, and talk fairly about, I think, about both of the sexes and gender. So, whatever you feel is totally fine. This is an open space to talk about opinion. Dasha, what do you think? How important is gender in sports?
Okay, I think it's important actually. It depends on which kind of sport, but for example, like boxing or some sport, actually there are some kinds of sport where only men can take part. And also, I'd like that there are sports when we can find both men and women, like pair sport, like in figure skating or dancing, or and sometimes also even women can be stronger than men in some kind of sport. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
true.
Like that.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Our next question, can men play any sport? Can women play any sport? So think about some of those sports that we had in mind. Think about what it would be like for a man to be a figure skater or a dancer, and then of course what it would be like for a woman to be a boxer or in martial arts or in ice hockey or some of those more violent sports. Aka, give us your opinion on this. Can men and women play any sport?
If they want, they can, because society doesn't should not regulate that, because it's their preference. For example, maybe 30 or 40 years ago, women's judo was rare, but now many women began start judo, and some of them are star player. So kind of society's consciousness is changing. So, and it's up to the individual person. If they want, they can, in my opinion.
All right. Thanks, Aka. Igor, what do you think?
I would say that women and men can play any sport. And sometimes, for example, it is even more interesting to see the sports which is not like built for women. For example, women wrestling. It's kind of show, but it's interesting because of the women, not because of the wrestling itself. It's how to say, contradiction, a little bit of contradiction in sport, and it's appealing for people.
All All right. So, those conversation questions have prepared us a bit for a short article we're going to read. But before the article, there are some vocabulary words we should go over so that you guys can fully understand, I think, the article. And the first vocabulary word is short shrift. Do you guys know that expression, short shrift?
No.
No.
Okay. I picked these words because they're the most difficult words in the article, so I expect that you probably won't know many of these phrases. Short shrift is when you don't pay attention to something, similar to if you ignore or minimize the importance of something. Okay. Abject.
Mhm.
How about the word abject?
No. I don't know.
No ideas? This is a synonym to the word miserable.
Mhm.
Abject is a synonym to the word miserable.
Mhm.
All right. Those two were tough. This one might be a little easier. The word counterpoint.
Counterpoint.
Counterpoint. Maybe the point for opponent.
Yeah, I think you're on the right track here. So
Mhm.
someone makes a point and the other person makes a counterpoint. So it's like a retaliation or a response to the original point.
Mhm.
Okay. Catch basin. A catch basin is
Basic.
something that catches whatever falls. So anything that falls from the top down, maybe of a house or something like that, it falls into this thing called a catch basin. Usually there's a lot of dirt and leftover things in there. It's not a very pretty place. How about the word nevertheless?
However.
Also,
Yeah, you guys are definitely on the right track.
however.
Yeah, it's like a word to contrast something. It's a contrasting word. Pulchritude.
Good.
Mhm.
Pulchritude has to do with the physical beauty of something. It's a very fancy word to talk about the aesthetic view or the physical beauty of something. Provincial.
Local, how can I say?
Mm-hmm.
Province or
Yeah, something local. Anecdotal.
Historic, some kind of.
Funny.
Yeah, could be funny, could be historic. Usually it's some kind of story. Commensurate.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Commensurate. This is a word that means basically equal. Something that's equal. All right. Jocks? What are jocks?
the man on the horse.
Okay, that's a
No.
jockey.
Yeah.
Close, but I think the words are related. The words are related. So a jockey is the person who races horses, the person on top of horses as they race. And jocks are people who play a lot of sports.
I see.
Someone who's very athletic and physically fit.
Both for man and woman.
Could be a man or a woman.
Okay.
And the last word, facetious.
Facetious.
This is when someone is being ironic or not completely forthcoming. So if I make a joke and I mean the opposite, I'll say something like, oh, well, that's a good phrase, but I mean the opposite. I mean, no, that's not a very good phrase. Okay, so that's a tough vocabulary list, but I think the rest of the article will be easier to read. So let me send you the article. We're going to read it together. And you'll notice that there's also an area where you can listen to it if you want. I'm not sure we'll have time for it in class today, but it would be great for you guys to listen to it in addition to help yourselves to aid you in your listening abilities. So in this blue square with the white triangle, you can listen to this report if you want. But for now, we're going to read it together. The title of the article is Ladies, Want Women's Sports to Get More Attention? Pony Up. And pony up means it's a slang term for pay up, as in pay me for something. So, pony up. All right, first two paragraphs. Dasha, will you read it for us?
Yeah, okay, sorry, I have fans of sports often maintain the female I don't see. Can you scroll it down a little bit?
Well,
Get short sheet from the
Short shrift. Can you guys not see the article?
Yes.
I don't see the article.
Maybe click your
that
icon
everybody's-
and click teacher's icon.
Okay,
That might work.
And sport often maintain. Okay.
Can you see it? Are you there?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Do you think you can read the first
Fans
two?
of women's sports often maintain. Yeah, I'm here. So I can start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I can. I think so. Fans of women's sports often maintain that that female athletics get short shrift from the media. So it had to be something of a surprise gift when ESPN presented the start of the WNBA's Draft Live. This happened as it was announced that after two abject failures in the past decade, yet another professional soccer league for women will dare venture forth in the United States.
Thank you very much. Igor, will you read the next two paragraphs?
not to excuse the media, but the reality is that most attention is given to team sports, where there is identity with the community and, by extension, with the local newspapers and broadcast outlets. Pick up any sports section, and most of it will be jammed with box scores from the various leagues. And the men have the leagues. In counterpoint, most attention to women's athletics has historically been devoted to individual sports, and often as not to the prettier stars. This dates back to the innocent so-called America's Girl, Helen Wills, in tennis almost a century ago.
Thank you. Aka, will you read the next two paragraphs?
Okay. Figure skating, where appearance is more important than any other sport, has been the natural catch basin for popularity in Winter Olympic years. Figure skate is a terribly demanding discipline. but it is to sports what the red carpet is to show business. Nevertheless, the sustained attention to parachute
Pulchritude.
purgative aside, it does not help right now that American fans of both genders are especially provincial, and that in tennis and golf and figure skating foreigners dominate. Still, I think the sisterhood has to look more into the mirror. In the post-Title VI era, as girls have flooded into athletics, and there has been no comparable explosion by female spectators. It's all very comforting to blame media men for a lack of coverage. But if more women buy tickets to watch female athletes play, the more coverage will follow.
Thank you. Dasha, will you read the next two paragraphs?
This may be only anecdotal, but I have noticed that in small town newspapers and on community websites, female high school and college sports seem to get a commensurate amount of attention with their male jocks. The imbalance of coverage is so much more at the top where commerce matters. Women's soccer will have the best chance, for the US female stars seem to have been as popular as our men on the pitch. But with the new National Women's Soccer League, and also especially with the WNBA and college basketball, success ultimately will surely be determined by whether female fans will support female athletes in their pocketbooks.
Thank you. Igor, get that last paragraph.
And oh yes, for basketball in particular, there should be a coordinated effort to get Las Vegas to run a line on women's games. I'm not being how to say that?
Facetious.
Facetious. Hey, Vegas makes a line on American Idol. Anything you can bet on gets more attention. The bookmakers, ladies, may be more important than the editors.
Okay. Any questions so far on vocabulary words or anything else from that article?
Yeah, one moment.
What is the last joke? The bookmakers ladies may be more important than the editors.
The bookmakers are people who take bets.
Yeah. So they should draw more attention from women.
Right. They're suggesting that maybe the best way to get female athletics to seem more important is for people to bet on them. You know, like, oh, I bet $100 that this team will win over this team. Because right now, female athletics, nobody really bets on female athletics.
I see.
Any other questions?
There was a word started with J in the second paragraph or so. Could you scroll up?
Sure.
No.
Here? Is it jammed?
Yes, jammed.
Okay, so the sentence is, pick up any sports section and most of it will be jammed with box scores. Any ideas what that word might mean?
Filled? Like
It's like filled or crowded.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions? Okay. So if you guys think of questions, feel free to ask them at any time or put them in the chat box. Aka, would you summarize what we read so far in the article?
Probably, as far as I understood, and maybe the reason why at the beginning, maybe also mentioned about women's sports more individual, doing more individual sports than team sports, and after that, the also mentioned about local something, but I'm not sure about that. And a lot of foreign players are playing in America now. And if the media report the women about the women's sports more, maybe women's sports get more can get more popularity. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. That's a good summarization. Igor, is there anything you want to add to that summary?
There is one more thing I would like to add, that women should promote women's sport themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like they
Definitely.
need to visit women's sport events and to bet on women's leagues and so on.
Mm-hmm.
It works a little bit other way around than media should promote sport. Media should reflect the demand of people, and if there is a demand from women, there is a media showing up a sports event from women's league or so on.
Mm-hmm. That was a
So
big
there
part of the
should be
article.
demand first.
Mm-hmm. Dasha, is there anything else the guys left out of this summary?
This actually, I have a question. There was a very interesting saying, one moment, about red carpet. I'm not sure that I understand it.
The red carpet. Let me look.
Yes. It was about figure skating.
So figure skating, where appearance is more important than any other sport, has been the natural catch basin for popularity in the Winter Olympics. I see. Figure skating is a terribly demanding discipline, but it is to sports what the red carpet is to show business.
Yes. It was about that figure skating. It's not kind of sport. It's more about business. So it's important to look good in this kind of sport.
Yeah, basically what they're saying is figure skating is similar to the red carpet because when stars are walking down the red carpet into an award show or something like that, they have to be very well dressed, they have to be very pretty and happy looking, and they have to be very sparkly people. And so it's a lot about what you show and how you look and how you act, not necessarily about the physics of the sport.
Okay, thanks. Was very, very good definition. Actually, I wanted to add the same, but Igor said it already that about that the woman should support women's sport. Yeah, if the woman will visit, I don't know, if they will watch women's sport, yeah, so it will be more demanded. Well, and will be more courage in there. He said exactly about the courage, coverage. He said, what is coverage actually?
What's what?
What's coverage?
Will you put it in the chat box? I'm not sure I understand.
Okay. Coverage. So he said, like, if it will be more, if more women will watch women's sport, yeah, it will be more articles about women's sport in the media.
True.
Coverage is coverage. This one, coverage.
Coverage, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, coverage. The media coverage will be more if if people support it, if women support it. So they have to take that responsibility. Okay. So, any other comments on this before we go into a little more conversation? Any comments on this article?
Any comments?
What is the foreigners and local support, that part I couldn't understand well.
Are you talking about the end of this paragraph where it says, nevertheless, that sustained attention to pulchritude aside, it does not help right now that American fans of both genders are especially provincial, and that in tennis and golf and figure skating, foreigners dominate. So,
go ahead.
I think what they're saying is that foreigners dominate these sports, like in the Olympics and that kind of thing. Maybe the U.S. is not on the top in those sports.
Okay. Okay, I got it. And maybe fans support their local areas players only.
Exactly.
That American fans would be more into these sports if they were some stars.
Yeah.
The local level. I mean, if some American tennisists, why tennis? Tennis is mostly a lot of American tennisists actually. I don't know. Foreigners are not dominating tennis.
I'm not that up on my tennis history, but it seems like what they're saying is that there aren't that many. The support is provincial, so there are small groups of support instead of large groups of support for the particular players.
Okay, I got it.
Okay. So, any other questions before we have a little conversation about this?
Yeah. And what's mean Vegas makes a line on American Idol? Makes a line.
Makes a line means that they take bets. So places in Vegas, they take bets on things like American Idol. They make a line, as in you can call in and make a bet on who is going to win American Idol. However, there is not much betting that happens on female sports games.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. All right. So we've summarized this article, and now let's talk a little bit about what is behind this article. Some people complain of sexism in media and in sports, and this article, I think, acknowledges that there is some sexism, but that it's not just men. It's both men and women that are responsible. So, Dasha, let's start with you. Do you believe that there's sexism in media, sports, and other areas like that?
I do. I do believe, especially in kind of football or kind of sport, which are typically supposed to be men's sport. And I'm not sure, because in our country we didn't have these things, like maybe women's football or something. Yeah, and I think there is, and sometimes the people, let's say commenters, they can use the position. They can use their position to how to say, to insist some opinion. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
to manipulate.
And I think sometimes they are not so, how to say, fair about the situation. Yeah. Sometimes they don't just show the way things are. Yeah, but they just put their opinion. What do you think about that?
I think I agree. There definitely is some sexism in coverage of sports and definitely in playing sports because it's just starting to be an area where women and men have entered. For a long time, it wasn't something that women were welcome in. So I think it's natural that this beginning period is a little awkward and people aren't really sure how to deal with it. And it seems strange sometimes to see a woman doing something that hasn't been done before. So I think I agree with you. Igor, what are your thoughts on the subject?
Yeah, I also agree, and this should be a long-lasting process of popularization of women's sport.
So what kind of sexism have
It
you
should start with
experienced
a
or seen?
demand. It should start with a demand from women. They should bring their husband to women's sport events, or I don't know.
All right.
And I think yes, there is a bit of sexism, but it's historically appeared. Like, for example, if a couple of women would like to play football and they will go to a football, how is it? To a football playground.
A field?
Yeah, field. So they should first to talk to these guys playing football if they will bring to their teams, and probably it would not be successful.
Yeah, and there have been some unsuccessful attempts in the past. All right. Aka, where do you land on this topic?
Now you mean sexism on the sports?
Yeah, is that something you've seen or noticed? And maybe what do you think a solution would be?
Yeah, actually, I think, how can I say, popular sports, baseball is very popular and soccer is very popular, but yeah, men dominate, professional league, and the vice versa, the synchronized swimming or how can I say, rhythmic gymnastics, women dominate. So maybe this kind of sexism exists, and popularity based on genders. And one solution is several cases, and in the past, maybe 1980s, and all of a sudden, a woman's professional wrestler began to be popular among girls. Before that, men watched that women's professional wrestling, but all of a sudden they became an idol, teenage idol. So it changed situation. And another case is that women's soccer team won the number one in America in the world. After that, women's soccer in Japan began to be popular, but still they have a problem of budget because it's difficult to make a professional team to get enough, budget or kind of profit. So maybe that kind of thing happening on the sports field, sports world.
All right. Well, good examples.
So yeah, so maybe to reveal on media, appear on media very influential to solve this problem.
Okay. So since we have a little time left, let's listen to this report and talk a little bit about what you guys hear. You should be pretty well prepared since we already read the article. However, it's a very fast report. It's meant for native speakers. So hopefully you guys will understand a lot, but you might not understand everything. So flip to the article and click the blue square with the white triangle, and remember to mute yourself before you listen. I'll give you guys about 4 minutes to listen to it. All right. Hopefully you guys had enough time to listen to most of that article. Aka,
Mm-hmm.
Did you understand most of that report?
Kind of with text. But yeah, pronunciation of his is very clear. Uh, it's maybe he's an announcer or a commentator or something.
Okay, so you found his pronunciation clear, but it was still at times difficult to understand.
Because some words of this article is not so easy, so I think I
It
can
is
get
a
a
pretty
general idea.
advanced article. All
Yeah.
right. Igor, how did you feel? Did you understand most of it, some of it, none of it?
Yeah, I did understand most of it.
Great. So, you didn't have any trouble with the speed he was speaking at?
Yeah, the speed was pretty fast, but actually we are quite well prepared.
Yeah, it's very similar to what was written in the article. We read it first and then listened. So it's good to have a review before listening to something, but still the speed and the way he says stuff can be difficult to catch every word.
Yes.
Okay. And Dasha, what do you think? Did you understand some of it, none of it, most of it? Dasha, are you there? Oh, Dasha, you're muted.
Yeah, I said
There we go.
just like maybe half because he said quite fast, and
Yeah.
but we will prepare it.
It's a challenge, but
Okay.
it's good to challenge yourself sometimes, and I'm glad you understood some of it. And I recommend this. You guys can do this on your own time as well, because many stories on NPR and other news sources, they'll have short stories and they have the transcript. So on this little blue box, you can listen on the left, and then here you can look at the transcript. So as you listen, if you want, you can follow along with the words, which at times can make it a little easier to understand exactly what's happening. And yeah, it's a good activity to do on your own or in class.
What type of media NPR is a public station or something?
It's National Public Radio
Okay.
in the US.
I see.
So they do a lot of written stories, but their main production is radio, which is why they have so many stories recorded vocally as well. All right. Any other questions or comments before we finish up today?
No.
Okay. I have another class starting in just a couple minutes on on so, such, and other words like that. So it'll be a good grammar review and have some practice with writing and speaking. And I hope to see you guys again soon.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you very much. See
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.